Scoop, welcome. Can I even say Sonic Scoop correctly? We are totally live. Let that be known. And I'm here live with one Mr. David Alexander of a company called Toybox. And Toybox has just put out a brand new plugin that is called Buzz Zone. They actually have a really cool free plugin that we'll talk about a little tiny bit called Thump One. You can go over to Toybox Audio right now and check out Thump One totally for free. But their latest plugin, Buzz Zone, right now they're having a big discount on. It's a really cool sounding synth, really simple interface. This thing is going to be, I think, around 40 or 50 bucks, but right now as intro price, it's on sale for 24 bucks. And we're going to use today not only to take a look and listen to some of the sounds that are within Buzz Zone, but we're also going to get a sense for synthesis in general. We'll talk about things like wave tables and envelopes. And one of my favorite things, Matthew, about this plugin is you have these drag and drop attack, decay, sustain, release curves that you can do an infinite number of things with that I think are super cool. So first of all, Matthew, how are you doing today? And second of all, what excites you about the release of Buzz Zone?
Hi, Justin. I'm good. I'm great. Let's say I'm great.
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah. I think Buzz Zone sits in a shelf on its own, as you might find it in the magazine store. It is a kind of quirky synth that has what a lot of synthesizer users might perceive to be limitations, when in fact they are exploitable beauties, I would say. I love glitchy synths, things that I want knobs on my synthesizer that go to the edge. I want knobs that go beyond where normal knobs would go. And we kind of do it with this. It's got a really interesting sonic territory that can be both clean and incredibly ugly and scary. And both of those territories are great for doing sound design. You want both, really, and you get that with this synth. Yeah.
That's something I like about this is curated so it can be musical. And it's also curated so that you can go to the ends of the earth with any of these knobs and get a very sound design-y kind of feel out of it. Now, before we dive too much into this one, for anyone who's watching this and doesn't want to commit to, a plugin they might have to buy, Thump One, which was your prior release, came out, I think, a few months back. That one, can you tell us what's different between Thump One and Buzz Zone? Because at first glance, they seem to be the same kind of thing. This one's purple, the other one's green. What's the story with Thump One? What does it do? What makes it unique? And why should people try it out for free?
I mean, they have similarities in that they are both kind of what I would call two oscillator. They have two sound generation parts. On Thump One, we have a part that's more like the harmonic JP8000 kind of super source stuff that can just be tacked onto the kick layer. So with Thump One, the right side that you can see where it says layer, that's a synth layer, and it's kind of detuning, and you can have filters and intervals to describe a chord, if you like. And the other side is the kick layer, which basically just does wicked kick and bass sounds. It's a complex oscillator. I don't think it's a wave. Is it wavetable? It is. It's a wavetable oscillator in the kick oscillator as well. It's been a while since I used it. And it's got a couple of extra little kind of wiggly bits as well that add pizzazz to the sound. We've got like a distortion kind of drive module here. There's a filter and a little buzz thing that it's a very unusual way to add interesting content to quite a simple sound. It kind of follows the dynamics of the sound and adds textural stuff. It's kind of a kind of glitchy, broken little bit but it works perfectly for kicks and basses because they tend to be low frequency content, and this works really well for kind of low cycling, clean signals. Very good. And it's basically the same kind of thing. We've got two areas. The thing that Thump One does is that these two areas, the kick area and the layer area, are kind of don't interplay with each other. They're separate elements that just get mixed at the output, basically. The thing about Buzz One is that these two areas, we've got a sample area to the right here, which can play a sample player, hundreds of noises we've got installed, including super saws and kicks and basses and that kind of thing. And that interplays with the synth side, which is a fully high quality wavetable oscillator, ultimately, with harmonic elements. You can add harmonies to the sound, add automatic layers. It's kind of multiple voice per voice. So when you press a note down, normally I'll press one note. Oh, that's not there. Let's put it on the right channel. So that's just one channel. You get one voice, and then you can add another kind of oscillator by adding this other harmonic layer here, and that creates another layer, so below or above. So it's kind of adding more notes, kind of similar to the Thump 1 harmony layer there, but there's a bit more control, and also it's stereo, so you can kind of pan these noises around. There's a root on the right, so a root on the left, and the harmony on the right there. And so this is a kind of complex wavetable part. It's got a filter as well, and we've got FM. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But ultimately, these two sides, the synth side and the sample side, interplay with each other via FM, and these are the powerful knobs that basically FM one side to the other. You can FM the synth side to the sample side, or you can FM the sample side to the synth side. It's kind of brutal and delicious.
Very cool. Well, I want to go into some detail on all of these controls a little bit more and hear what each of them does. Before we do, can you just take us through a tour of some greatest hits of Buzzone? Just give us a few maybe of your favorite presets in here that just give us a sense for some of the range that this thing can do. Because I know there's about 400 presets or more loaded into it. And you have pads, you have drum sounds, you have leads. So maybe just give us a little bit of a tasting from a couple different categories to get a sense for the breadth of it.
I think some of the powerful stuff, the most powerful part of the synthesizer I found is the looping side, and that is quite complex. I'll put some videos up on the Toybox channel that explore the different kinds of looping we've got, but you can basically kind of create musical loops. So we've got this is a kind of almost energy flash style thing. All we've got is a kick running on one side using the loop tactics, the loop kind of functions to repeat the kick, and some modulation and stuff over here to, I would think, yeah, there you go, the filters being opened and closed by that breakpoint envelope there.
Very interesting.
That's just one note, yeah.
So all that's happening there is one kick sample being modulated, and what's been drawn in here is you're drawing in a basic modulation curve. What exactly is being automated with the curve that we're seeing on the screen?
No, so maybe I didn't say that correctly. There are two noises in this sound. There's a sample side.
Okay.
So this little switch here turns the sound off. So if I just play the note now, and we've only got the sample side playing, it's just a fall to the floor kick that's using the looping sensibilities that we've included. There's a really quirky looping mechanism in the sample side, which we'll hopefully get to. But that's just being triggered by that. And the other side is just a synth.
Gotcha.
And that's just being opened by the filter. There may be some... No, it's just a filter being opened. Maybe a bit of FM. I can hear a bit of FM in the filter. In the sound, it's... I mean, because it's being so heavily filtered, the FM is adding harmonic content that's above where the filter sits, so you can't really hear it. But that's basically...
Very cool.
So it's just... Yeah, go on.
And because this is so synth-focused, these sample controls are relatively simple, but they are powerful. Can you solo just that kick again and just show what can be done with the couple of major controls that we have on the sample side of things?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is like, it's a really simple sample player. We did not want it to be like mental velocity layering, all that kind of... We just didn't want it. It needs to be really simple. So this is just a pitch control. Just plays back the samples faster, as you'd expect, like a regular sample interpolation kind of thing. It's got a filter, which has got a few different options. We've got high pass, like your normal kind of filtery stuff. We've got like a vowel filter, multi-notch filter that's kind of does sort of physically modeled kind of stuff. So you can kind of ping it and the notch filters will ping out afterwards. We've got a comb filter for doing kind of stringy sounds.
And can we see the visual display? Can we see the visual display of that filter? Because I think right now we're looking at the visual display for the synth filter. And is there also a visible display for the sampler filter?
I'm just looking, actually. The sample doesn't appear to be creating a visualization. That's correct, right? Where is it? Hold on a minute. Oh, I needed to press it again. I needed to press it again for that to actually start happening. Yeah, so if I bring this... So we can just ping that comb filter with this pick sound and with the
interesting
sound, and it just rings on afterwards. And you can obviously change the sort of decay rate of these filters as well. So
wild, cool stuff.
They sound more like weird short delay lines.
Now that we've got a sense for one sound, can you give us a couple more from a few more categories? And you guys there in the chat, let us know if there's any type of sounds that you want to hear more of. Chishimi is saying that Matthew is way low in volume. So I'm going to bring up your level here on my side. Let me bring him up and bring myself down. Good. And let me know if Matthew's loud enough for you. Matthew, if you could bring up another sound for us.
I hope that's loud enough. Here's a weird kind of vaporwavy sort of wobbly noise. I love this kind of unsteadiness. So this filter here is a chorus filter, but it's not a conventional chorus filter. It's applied to every single voice, so it's almost behaving like a fed back delay line, almost like a comb filter. But you can hear. So each of these voices has this chorus on it. So each voice is being thickened by that chorus, and you can kind of feed it back as well, so it goes into crazy territory. And obviously all these noises respond to, well, we've got a huge modulation page that allows you to affect the voices with aftertouch and modulation wheels and pitch bend and stuff. So it's not just like pressing a note down, there's other stuff that you can change with the voice, as you'd expect with a good synthesizer. But that's a nice drunken spiritual sound.
Very cool.
I love the effects section because there's just so many... Like, this stuff really tickles me. It's like, what is it? What is it? And a lot of the, especially these kinds of sounds, will be exploiting the instabilities of the machine itself. We've made sure one of the things about the synthesizer that we wanted was that everything is as high quality as it can be. The filters are as high quality as they can be. The wavetable reading is as high quality as it can be. It's and with that high quality sort of implementation of DSP, you can create instabilities in the output, because it's basically a lot of feeding back of signals. It's just a lot of stuff interfering with itself at a very high sample rate. So yeah, it's just I just love these. Edible computer. It probably means something. Maybe it's an apple. But yeah, we wanted this to be...
What's the visual looping layout that we were seeing on that last one, where there was this rising and then falling slope? What was the type of filter being modulated there?
Oh, in that last one that we were looking at, let's have a look.
Yeah.
So this is modulating the position of the... So we can see which of... So the breakpoint envelope... Let's do a cover of... Let's just cover the basic kind of interface we've got here.
Sure.
Like these breakpoints, there's 9 of them, and these little arrows here display each of those breakpoints, and you can basically have a particular shape for each of these knobs, whichever you want. You can copy them around to knob, as it were, copy knobs around, copy modulations around, and flip and reverse them. But basically, a breakpoint, for all the non-synthesists out there, a breakpoint envelope in the way that's been designed here doesn't have a classic attack, decay, sustain, release kind of experience. It's just travels through the breakpoints and converts those to modulation depths ultimately. So there is no release, there's no attack. It just travels through, as you can see, the little breakpoint, the little display, the little traveler knob there goes through and shows you what it's doing. So this one, let's see, this is adjusting the position of the wavetable. So it's heavily affecting. The wavetable is a digital wavetable here. We could just switch to another one and travel through that in a similarly grungy way.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. Let's do one more voice. I just want to show you. Oh no. there's some crazy just like beats that have been created because we just wanted to sort of show. I mean, I like that. It's gritty, old school horribleness. I really like this one. This is a lovely. This is just one note being pressed, and the way the patch has been designed is that the notes all kind of interfere with each other. So I'll play that, and I'll play another note up here. But they're all kind of playing together. They're not kind of out of sync. And you just get this incredible depth.
Yeah.
I love that.
We have this is great. If we have a request here in the chat from Benj who says, I'd like to hear some ways that hi-hats can sound interesting through it. Do you have any hi-hat or high percussion type loops in your drum section there?
I'm just going to have a look. I'm pretty sure I did a couple of hi-hat noises.
Mod wheel closes hat. I see that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've got. So I'm just using the mod wheel to.
Gotcha. So that's you manipulating it in real time on your mod wheel.
Yeah. And I mean, this is obviously kind of pitch as well. So you can have a high hi-hat or a low hi-hat. Doing strange low frequency noise. But yeah, that's just a closed modulation. You can invert all these. So this patch could be set up to actually do the opposite. So it starts off closed and then you use the modulation wheel to open the patch. But it's up to the patch designer how they want to do that. I just wrote it like an open hi-hat initially to close. Yeah, the fun thing about this is that there's so many ways to get noise. There's so many ways to get different colors of noise out of this machine. In so much as I think even this one is using, I'm not even using a noise envelope. I'm not even using a noise wavetable. I'm just using a very high pitched up, high frequency, complex content bit of a wavetable, and I've got the unison up on maximum, and I've got the unison kind of detune amount on maximum, or pretty high as well. So that's creating lots of other layers of a high frequency signal that just ends up turning into a little bit of noise because there's so much content going on. It's an unexpected way of getting white noise. I've never seen a way of getting white. I've tried this on other synthesizers and it just doesn't work in the same way because of the way the unison engine is working in this synthesizer. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like
Very
it.
cool.
And let me just see. I'm just having a look at the. Oh yeah, we've got a high pass on that filter, obviously, to kind of get rid of the low content. Without it, you can sort of hear the lowness of it without the high pass filter. But yeah, there's so many ways. There's obviously noise within the wavetable as well, and there's tons of noise in the sample player as well. And you can just drag your own hi-hats into it if you want. Just drag your own bit of noise in or your own cymbals or whatever and shape that. It'll get re-triggered when you either hit a note or exploit the incredible looping stuff that you can do with it as well, which we'll hopefully look at in a bit. But yeah.
All right.
Was that hi-hat okay?
Yeah, very. We have another request here from Isomatic, who says, excited to load some custom wavetables into this thing. What kind of customization would the user have over wavetables here? And is that something that you can do with BuzzZone?
Customization, I mean, I think it's been designed to receive 2048 wavetables, isn't it? It's kind of, yeah. Any number of frames, but 2048 samples in each frame. Yeah, that it will but of course you can just stick any other wavetable. Like wavetable oscillators tend to be, I want to say, flexible, but they're more like you can just bung any wavetable in any of them and it will just do the operation it wants to do on that wavetable. You might get mungy horribleness, but it will try to read the wavetable back anyway. So if you've got a wavetable that's like the frames are, say, 512 samples, bung it in and see what happens. It'll basically be trying to play 4 of those frames in one time and looping 4 frames if you've only got one wave. If you've only got one frame selected, it will be looping 4 frames, for example. I hope that made sense. So yeah, you can use any odd wavetable in it, but ideally it would be looking for 2048 frame, any length wavetables.
Gotcha. Now, for the non-synth nerds who we've lost, I want to go over a couple of ideas that you're going to be fluent with, and some of our viewers are going to be fluent with, but some aren't. I'd love to get into just the idea of what is FM, what is AM, and what is wavetable mean in the context of synthesis in general, and what are some of the effects that we can have by adjusting those three variables?
So, in principle, a wavetable is a set of noises that have been stretched or squeezed to fit a certain frame rate. So it's kind of like every a good wavetable will have all of the notes that are translated into it the same note. So, for example, they might be A4, for example. They might just be A4, but all the frames of the wavetable, all the frames that are, say, 2048 samples or 412 samples, they'll all be the same pitch. So if you play a wavetable back as like in a sample player, for example, you just get a line of noises that are the same, changing timbral noises, but they're the same note ultimately. And when you load them into a wavetable is designed to be able to read back the frames of that file that's got lots of little sections of noise in it in a smooth way, and to be able to pitch them around, you know, as you play them across the keyboard. So that's kind of a wavetable's kind of like a sampler, but it's a slight advancement of a sampler. When you play a sample higher up the keyboard, it literally plays the sample quicker, and so it ends quicker. But when you play a wavetable at a higher frequency, all it's doing is just playing back that bit of the wavetable more times. So it's just playing it back faster. It doesn't ever end, because your sort of a wavetable is a kind of looped area. It's kind of a locked thing that you just scan within. But a sample, yeah, you play it once and just get to the end of it and it's finished. So that's kind of a kludgy way of explaining wavetables to non-wavetable users, I suppose. If you know what a sample is, then a wavetable is like a clever kind of sample, basically, is what the best way of putting it. That can be pitched around and manipulated, yeah. You spoke about AM and FM. AM, I may not have meant to say this, AM is just a method of combining two noises. It's called amplitude modulation, and it's more like a multiplication. You feed a signal into one side of the AM device and another signal into the AM device, and these both signals are kind of multiplied together, and as a result of that you get kind of sidebands, you get other harmonics created depending on the noises going into this AM kind of operation. But it's just a kind of simple mathematical operation that you just run on noises. FM, it's funny you say AM and FM, because they're both, you're familiar with radio, like,
sure,
and AM and
course.
FM are both radio kind of, you know, areas, but they sort of mean the same thing. But in this world of high quality DSP, it means a slightly different thing. So frequency modulation in this world of like wavetables and oscillators and that kind of fun stuff is about wobbling a sound. So the simplest way of thinking about it is when a singer sings a note and they go, ooh, there's a straight flat note. There's no wobbling. But when they go, ooh, that's a terrible vibrato. Please comment on
I thought it was
vibrato.
lovely.
But I was kind of exaggerating. Oh. That's kind of what I'm modulating my frequency with a very slow LFO that's making my voice go oh. So frequency modulation is that, but at really high rates. So I can demonstrate it with a noise here. Let's just.
That was going to be my next suggestion. Yeah, is to pull up a noise to go through each of these controls on the synth, like we did for the sample size.
I will exactly do that. I'll just, though, quickly because I can show the purity and simplicity of what FM is, basically. So here's our FM knob here. Excuse me. I've just turned the ratio down very, very low. So the modulating LFO is running very, very slowly. So you should be able to hear it. I'll put it up to like 0.1. And I'll turn the FM up. And now you can hear it wobbling. You can hear the pitch moving, right? And you can see the screen wobbling as well. I hope it doesn't make you too sick. But then the point is that, so this knob down here, which is the ratio knob, I can bring that up and it very quickly gets faster. And it's like, no one can sing that fast. That's not a vibrato you can sing. It's turning into like frequency modulation. We're basically making the pitch go up and down of the main oscillator really, really fast. And if you this LFO that's doing the extra oscillator that I'm feeding into the main oscillator, if you have that as a mathematically like nice related number to the key that you're playing, to the note that you're playing, you get nice stuff happening. So if I just wang it around to like a crazy number and turn FM up, it gets kind of, maybe I accidentally went on a nice one there. Yeah, so it quickly goes enharmonic and ugly. It's like bell-like and, I mean, kind of unusable in a kind of tuneful way. Some might, of course, you can use these things however on earth you want to use them. But that's what FM is. It's a very fast modulating oscillator, very, very fast, like beyond your, ability to hear the oscillator changing pitch. And then it turns into. So if I have this at this is now oscillating at the pitch that the note is coming at, for example. So we've got a nice clean wave here. I'll turn it up, and what we do is it adds nice harmonics to the sound, harmonics that are totally usable.
It's a totally different character than adding harmonics through just harmonic distortion. It's adding it through additional vibration. Really interesting. Now, exactly, I would love to. We went nerdy for the nerds. We went soundy for the sound people. I would love to just get from you, if possible, a couple more patches where you can just walk us through in real time some interesting changes to the main 9 controls here. If you want to bring up maybe 1 or 2 different sounds that you can play with some of these filters in real time on to give people a sense of the scope of how far this thing will go.
Yeah, let me see. There's a lot of noises here. Let's see. This might be a bit boring. I don't know, let's try. I want to find a noise that's kind of got a lot of stuff going on. What about this one? Here we go. So, yeah, okay, there's some stuff going on here. So what is going on here? Let's have a look. Let's go through these envelopes from left to right. They're kind of ordered quite sensibly, so you can like examine the sound. I've got deconstructing preset videos that I don't know how well they do, but this is kind of my territory. So let's break down a sound. We've got a pitch envelope here, and as you can hear, the pitch isn't really changing, so the pitch envelope doesn't do anything. But we can just make it slide down. We've also, I should cover the top here.
And you could manually change that pitch. You could write in a very high number of breakpoints to modulate just this pitch over time. Can we hear what you've written in right now? All right. This kind of ability to adjust the filters is one of my favorite things about the layout that you have here.
I mean, yeah, okay, so we've got the filter running. Let's hear what it sounds like when we just open it up manually. Oh, let's just reset this pitch, my pitch madness.
Yeah.
Although I like that. Let's keep that. That's kind of fun. So if the filter's fully open, just to see what because the filter is kind of gonna play with the sound that's coming out of the oscillator itself. So we've got the wavetable oscillator here, and this is doing this sound at its core, but we're offsetting it because we've got this journey through the wavetable. We're describing movement through the wavetable with this breakpoint. Right. So we are starting off. Just make sure we've got nothing else going on here that's crazy. Yeah. So all that is the unison. All this is doing is adding thickening as it goes further through. So at this point, it's its thickest. If I turn this up, it becomes really clear. So I'll start the noise again. And you can hear the sound get more unison-y as it travels through. Nice. But I will turn that down and show you the filter. So yeah, I've opened the filter right up. So if I pull that right down, because what these envelopes describe are offsets to the knobs. So if I describe a filter pattern or shape here, let's make that really obvious at the start. So now it's only going to open up really fully at the start and not much halfway through. I can offset that whole breakpoint and just say, well, open it up really quickly at the top and only allow that little bump in the middle to affect the higher content, because I've offset the whole kind of calibration of this.
Wow! So you can select any of the the specific breakpoint that you've drawn in, and then adjust the filter at that specific breakpoint, and not only the overall movement over time?
No. So it's simpler than that. It's basically you position these knobs where you want it. So I'll clear this filter here.
So it's more like setting the range for how far the breakpoints are going?
Kind of. The range is described by the depth of the thing that you describe in here. That's basically the depth is described by how wide you create the actual breakpoint imagery.
So you can draw in a shape and then make it more or less extreme with that knob on the top.
You can basically, yeah. It's say with the filter, you're basically with this particular low pass filter, you're basically opening the filter up. So if I have it really low, at its lowest point, at these lowest points, it's totally closed. But if I open it up, the lowest points aren't totally closed. They're like halfway down. So the bottom, this breakpoint here is basically where this knob is set. Does that make sense? The same goes for all of these. So this, at the moment, let's just take that open that completely. Turn off. If I just move this whole position knob, we're just moving through a different part of the wavetable. And that's kind of clear if we use a different wavetable.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's great because honestly, if I didn't completely understand this, I really feel like I could just go in, start throwing some breakpoints and have fun and make good sounds without even understanding the ranges.
That's the point.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the great things that this interface has achieved. One quick question I do have for you is there much of an ability to snap to notes if you're on a grid, or is it really meant to be kind of freehand by design?
So there is kind of snapping when there's linear snapping for going left and right. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's white lines have appeared in the background. When I'm holding shift down and moving a breakpoint, faint white lines appear in the background, and as you can see that breakpoint is now snapping to those vertical snap points, right?
Beautiful. So you can easily create rhythmic patterns.
Rhythm stuff's really easy. Pitching stuff isn't so easy, but that's just a product of the way we've done it. And I don't want it to be. It's not designed to be. It's not like an arpeggiation machine. It's not designed to create melodies. It's designed to be totally free. You can do microtonal stuff if you want. Just do mad things. We didn't really want it to be. It's funny. I did try to say to Dave, we need to find some way of scaling this stuff so that I know I'm going to hit an octave or like fifths and that kind of thing. And we just decided that it wasn't really the way we wanted it to be. That would kind of make it a bit too fine. We wanted it to be, a bit nutty. And that's what you get. We don't want it to be kind of, because as soon as you invite people to do things like that, they'll do it. And we'd rather people just, don't go mad, don't make weird noises.
Save it for a different toy in the toy box.
Exactly.
I think one of the great ideas you guys have here is making purpose-built instruments that help lead you in a certain direction. And this one is leading you in somewhat more sound design-y directions, although you can obviously get very musical sounds out of here. There's very basic kicks and pads and synths and basses and leads, but you can also create just tremendous oscillation that you can be really just free-spirited with, just moving around breakpoints in any one of these different parameters. And that whole idea of there being different purpose-made plugins for different purposes makes me want to ask you to pull up Thump One, if we can hear a few sounds off of this free one. If you guys have liked what BuzzZone can do and you want to play around with it yourself, check out the links that we have in the description, and I'll put them in the comments as well, where you can buy BuzzZone right now. I think it's going to be 40 or 50 bucks, but right now it's on sale for an intro price for just 24 bucks. So check it out. This one, Thump One, is totally free. Just go over to toyboxaudio.com right now to check it out. And let's hear some of the presets that are inside Thump One, and then maybe we can land on one and do a couple tweaks from that preset.
Oh, from Thump One?
Yes, if you don't mind sharing a few sounds.
That's a loud one.
Oh, I'm not getting the audio from Thump One. I was just getting the audio from BuzzZone, so maybe it needs to be routed to a different output.
Yeah, that's because it's not routed to that. Let me just do it. Was it line 3 and 4? Oh, yeah, so... I mean, one of the
Wow.
big differences, yeah, it's pretty crazy. This is so great for weird noises. I love it. One of the main differences between this and Bars 1 are the kind of a way we've approached the breakpoint travel, how it's reading the breakpoint. So this one, we have an attack and decay kind of knob that allows the user to describe how quick. What
I'm
happened?
sorry, we lost your audio there for a second, and I think we've switched over off of your regular
Yeah.
microphone.
The bloody thing, the things come out.
Ah, the old unplugged during the live stream. Well, while you guys sort that out and try to get your regular interface back up, I'm going to take people for a tour because
hold
I
on a minute,
have
I
my
can-
screen loaded here of the website. Give me 1 second to pull that up, and I'm going to come over to Safari, and I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of the Toybox website while you're getting that sorted out. Let me know when you have sound out of Thump 1 as well. And oh, there we go. We're back in action already.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
Quick recovery. We're pros
Indeed.
here.
All right. So we were just hearing stuff off of BuzzZone. If you could give us a couple of sounds off of Thump 1 and maybe
Yeah.
show us the parameters in there.
I mean, yeah, this is, like I say, this is a kind of simpler kind of synth than Buzz 1, obviously. It was the first one that we just like a test bed kind of synth. And it's a kick machine. It's a kick and bass machine. It excels at kicks and basses. You know, it's, we'll just quick. Let's go. Loads of different crazy things.
Wow. That is wild.
I love those noises that have got weird harmonics at the end of them. It just sounds like something's responding to it, like a bit of material is moving or a furniture broke or something. Lively. So yeah, this is just really good at. There's a ton of 808 kicks as well. It does these. It's just like another way of getting this kind of that 808, you know, the classic 808 character. Flappy cones. Oh yeah, that stuff at the end.
Ooh, what's causing that sizzle at the end? You know what?
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
Flappy
that
Cones,
is-
what was the parameter?
Yeah, I mean, that is just a layer. That's the JP8000 emulation kind of super saw layer. That's just doing the, you know, when you have a load of detuned oscillators and you high pass them, it ends up sounding a bit like kind of gritty noise. So that's all this is. It's that at the end of that,
Beautiful.
and the kick just goes, just meaty, beefy cake, keek. I mean, this is just great for heralding a new generation of 808 boom fascinators hats that you might wear at the Aston races. But yeah, and that just excels at that. That just excels at kicks and basses. It's kind of what it was designed to do. It does it really well. We're having the extra layer kind of textural thing. If it didn't have that, it would just be just a kind of bass machine with like one oscillator, a bit of overdrive, a bit of wavetable manipulation and pitch modulation. It would be cool still, but it would be missing something, and the little layer thing adds the little bit of like magic that you just wouldn't normally expect. Let's find another one of the that exploits it. Right, this is using it. Oh, this is only this is only the JP layer. Look, the kick layer is actually off.
Interesting.
So this is just the JP8000 layer, filtered, detuned. It's nice, and it's in the sub mode, so I think it's generating sub oscillations as well to give it some beef.
Interesting that it can be
For all
that
you vegans
powerful,
out there.
even without the kick mode turned on. Just so we can hear it, can you isolate the kick sample and walk us through what the basic controls are that we have the ability to adjust on the kick sample? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main knobs. If you could just give us a little taste of what each of those does to the main kick sample.
Oh, you mean in in
On
Buzzone,
Thump 1.
obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, on Thump. Oh, well, I mean, this isn't a sample playback machine. So this kick side is a wavetable, Yeah, let's just start. Let's go through the. Let's go to the init preset. Turn that layer off, and look at what we've got here. So we're going to turn that to. So this is the basic kind of what a patch could start off being. So it's basically. I think actually there's a load of wavetables in here that can be. Yeah, there's a load of wavetables that can be traveled through with this knob here. We can travel through them with that.
Oh wow! So you have a whole bunch of wavetables loaded up that you cycle through with that knob.
There's a ton of them. Yeah.
And then the bottom knob is selecting the type of wavetable, and then the bottom knob is selecting where in the wavetable we're starting from, kind of.
Yeah. As you can see, this one's kind of selecting through the wavetable collections that we've included, and the top knob is scrolling through that particular wavetable.
Yeah,
that's all that is. So this is a load of different wavetables, and this one, which the breakpoint thing is attached to, which is how you describe the travel through the wavetable.
Yeah,
is just going through the whatever 10, 15, or 100 frames of wavetable sort of data that's put into this little slot here. So all these positions are different wavetable slots that have different sounds. So there's a load of them. I think there's like 30 or something in there, isn't there?
All right. So everyone who's watching this and has gotten this far should just go to Toybox website right now and just get Thump 1. It's free. Play around with it. Now, for someone who has Thump 1 and is already loving it, why should they pay right now only $24 introductory price for BuzzZone? What are they getting out of BuzzZone that's not in Thump 1? And what is someone going to be excited about out of BuzzZone if they've already been excited about Thump 1?
If they were excited about Thump 1, I can tell you they will not be able to keep their shoes on thinking about FM. The FM is one of the most powerful parts of this beautiful little device. The cross FM, modulating between the sample and the synthesizer, is a wonderful, unstable, harmonically interesting area to play with. And also, you can drop. I don't think Thump 1 had the ability to drop wavetables in. I think it's just included.
It might just be your preset ones. Yeah.
There's like things like that have been added to this. You can drop your own wavetables in, drop your own samples in, and wang them around however you like with our beautiful, sweet little engine here. Things that Thump 1 didn't have, for example, are the unison engine that adds multiple layers. So let's just go with a simple sound to begin with. Let's not do that. Let's do an init, and we've got a nice saw starter. First call starter. So I'll turn the detune operation down so it's not kind of forcing all the oscillators to be really far apart. And you can hear already the phasing, the kind of interplay of the oscillators that are now part of the sound. And we turn them up, we turn the detune up, and it basically forces those oscillators further apart. And it turns into like too much unison, too much super saw. Is there ever too much super saw? I'm not sure. I don't think there is. Not for the world of EDM that we currently live in. But this function isn't in Thump 1, so you can't kind of thicken the sounds up like that. You can thicken them up in Thump 1 with the JP8K, kind of layered oscillator thing, super saw oscillator thing. But this is a different kind of addition. This is multiplying. This is creating new instances of the sound and playing them underneath the sound that's originally there.
So I'm going to try to give my short synopsis of it. It seems like Thump 1, you have two sides, a synth side and a sample side, and there's more control in Thump 1 over the sample side than the synth side, and it's monophonic. But BuzzZone, we're opening up to polyphony. We've got a synth side and a sample side. We have more control over the synth side. It's adding the ability to import customized wavetables. We have this unison control, and we have the FM, the frequency modulation aspect to it. Those would be some of the major differences between BuzzZone and Thump 1 feature-wise.
I mean, yeah, the last load of it was all correct. I just would want to correct you and say that in Thump 1, there isn't a sample player. It's just a JP8000 synthesizer. It's just like an oscillator. It's just like a super saw oscillator. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
I can show you. I'll just play it. I'll play it now. I should be able to open that filter up. Okay, yeah. Why isn't it coming out?
Maybe it's the output
Oh, hold on
selected
a
for
second.
that
I
channel.
see. No, I see. No, it's all right. It's right here. So yeah, we've got these modes here. So the detune, we've got some portamento going on as well. Let's just turn that down. So this is just the oscillator. This is just a super saw layer, and it just has a load of intervals. And these intervals can be increased with the detune knob, basically. So the unison knob plays a load of other oscillators. I think they'll all be super saw. They'll all be saw oscillators, kind of laid on top of each other, treated in different ways to create this synth layer. So this basically Thump 1 is 2 synth layers, one of which is a super saw layer, and the other which is a wavetable sort of, I want to say monophonic kick and bass kind of synthesizer. And Buzz Zone is a wavetable oscillator and a sample playing oscillator, which is, the sample thing is the thing that wasn't in Thump 1. So if you want to muck around with samples in our nutty audio engine, you need Buzz Zone, because that's got the sample stuff in it, basically. Yeah.
Very
you can
cool.
do the sample craziness.
Well, we have
Let's
now
go back to
spent about 45 minutes talking about and hearing sounds out of these things. Big thanks for having you on here. We really got to hear a great range of sounds from both of them. And I really think the best thing to do at this point is, if you've enjoyed checking this out enough, us talking about it isn't going to make it more fun. What's going to make it more fun is going over to Toybox Audio and downloading first Get Thump 1 because it's totally free. And then, is there a free trial on BuzzZone at all?
I don't think there's no, we're not doing a trial at the moment. No.
Yep. They're just doing intro pricing where it's like, this is too stupid not to buy.
Super cheap. It's exactly.
$24. And if your free trial is basically Get Thump 1. And if you like the layout, the way that plugin works, and you want to have these features and get more of these types of sounds, then BuzzZone is a no-brainer at that point.
I think the whole interface is the kind of brand sort of statement at the moment. It's this simplified approach to. I mean, I've done synthesis for many, many years, and you end up with modulation matrices that have got dozens by dozens of things that you end up, trying to map to what, and people are, want dozens of different types of oscillators in their super synths, and this is a beautifully simple, high quality interpretation of a synthesizer. This is kind of like a kind of synthesizer you might find in, and I'm not underselling this by saying, in a kind of second-hand shop. You might find it just like, oh my God, what is that? That's a weird looking thing. Where did that come from? Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing you're going to see like Native Instruments. The big companies would never risk selling something like this. It's far too niche and far too outside the norm of what you'd normally get from when you're buying a synthesizer. And I think that's its main selling point. If you like the interminable breakpoint world of Thump 1, get this, because you can do more with it, basically. And I'm ashamed I couldn't cover the looping stuff in this, but the looping stuff in this is mad. It's totally crazy. Look, there's a chaos knob. And I really want to. I'm going to do a video that talks about that, because it's beyond. I've never seen a synthesizer that does this kind of interplay between the two oscillators and the kind of playback of the samples as well. It's just like, I mean, you can basically turn the samples also into oscillators with a pitch. We can load a sound in. You just load a sound in, and it basically turns into an oscillator. So let me just mute that. I'll do this quickly, very quickly. Let me do this, and I'll show you a little bit of power. So I've now said for this sample to restart every time the loop gets to the beginning of and it's basically looping now. So that's basically the big pad 3 sound looping, and we can traverse it with a modulation setting and say move through the sample offset, basically move through it. But it's kind of like, you won't get that in many sample players. Just like, screw the sample, screw the sample, turn it into an oscillator straight away. It's really good. It's really interesting. So yeah,
good stuff.
It has it's got its things you've never seen before in synthesizers, and that's what I want out of a synthesizer.
Well, we've got some great comments coming in already. Isomatic writes in to say he already has Thump 1 and he loves it. He's getting BuzzZone. Benj writes in to say, yes, I definitely got to play with this. We've got a whole bunch of comments about some of the sounds. We were going through some of the low end ones. And Andre Erlmeyer said that one of those presets was shaking his entire house. So that's good to know.
Ideal.
He was registering
I hope you had
information
insurance.
down to 10 hertz. Yeah. So hopefully it's still standing. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel, Matthew. It's great to have you here.
Pleasure.
You guys are a new plugin company to me, but you've been making, I believe, reactor patches for ages now. Thump 1 was your first release as a plugin. This Buzz Zone is your second release as a plugin. And based on the design, I could just imagine you taking this GUI and doing so many more themes with this, where we can take it like a box of synthesizer crayons, where we can pull out the right type of thing. I could imagine a pad zone.
Exactly.
You know, I could imagine an ARP zone. I could imagine so many variations on this theme. Where
Oh, yes.
just the curation of controls here, I think, are phenomenal. So you guys go try it out.
It's exactly that. Yeah, it's exactly curation of controls. Exactly the thing. Yeah.
Yep. That is what really sets this apart for me, and the ability to go in there and with breakpoints on each and every one of these parameters to kind of map them over time, freehand or locked to a grid. So really beautiful work. Thanks so much again for sharing this here on the channel. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been Justin Coletti of SonicScoop with Matthew Small. Matthew Large. Matthew Large.
I've had that before, don't worry.
Yes. With Matthew Large from Toybox Audio. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Pleasure, Justin. See you soon, man.
All right. Bye now.